Deli Ham makes great sandwiches. It's a little expensive to buy though, so I like to make it at home. Now, it's difficult to source out actual pork hams, which comes from the back leg of the pig. An easier product to find, and definitely cheaper, is just a pork loin. Yes, I know this is coming from the back of the pig, not the leg, so don't teach me about that. What I'm going to do though is take this pork loin, or at least half of it, and I'm going to turn it into a very ham-like deli meat product. So this is my second method for doing this. The first one, I have another video where I wind up finishing it with cold smoke and then cooking it sous vide at 140 Fahrenheit, and it's delightful, but not everybody has a precision cooker, so I'm going to do something a little bit different and finish this off in my smoker. All right, so let's get this cut in half, cleaned up, and get started. Okay, we have weighed out the pork, and that came in at 2.607 kilograms, and we're going to be doing an equalization or an equilibrium cure here. So everything is actually just weighed out, which means we don't have to freshen it afterwards. It's super simple, just a little bit of math in advance, which we did. So based on that, we just multiply by the percentage, and we know exactly how much we need. So we go with 0.25% of cure number 2, or sodium nitrate, or prog powder number 2, whatever you can find it under, just available at a sausage supply store. And that's 6.52 grams. We've got 2.2% of kosher salt here. You want a non-iodized salt for that, and that's just over 57 grams. We've got some dark brown sugar here. It's 2%, and that's just over 52 grams. We have 0.08% of juniper berries and 0.06% of rosemary, so that's about 2 grams and about 1.5 grams of those. And then we've got some black peppercorns here, and that's 0.3%, so that's 7.82 grams of that. Now, the peppercorns, the juniper, and this might look like a lot of rosemary, but it's rosemary that came out of my garden, so it's actually really light. So even though it's weighed out, it looks like that. I'm just gonna run this through in my super fancy spice mill here, which sounds like it's on its last legs. It'll be a sad day when this is done. So I'm going to pour that into this bowl here. Get all that out. We'll get our cure in, salt, the brown sugar. That's all we need. So now I'm just going to use a fork here and spend a second mixing it all up. Indeed. Okay, there we are, all nice and mixed. So let us get this onto the meat. So when I'm applying cures and seasonings and stuff like that to these hunks of meat, I like to use my meat lug here. I just like that because I can sit here and splash the cure on and not worry about causing a big mess all over my counter. It'll all get collected in here. Now, of course, I'm going to wind up scraping out this excess that's splashed off into the vacuum bag here in a minute with my hands, but at least this sort of gives a nice initial distribution of some of that cure on all parts of the meat. There we go, just like that. So now I just need my vacuum bag. Alrighty, so we have our vacuum bag prepped. Do this without making a big mess everywhere. You know, in an ideal world. Slide that on in.
Knock out the hand model with the meat tub.
I love you for your hands, not for your face.
I think it was it's one of Amber's wedding vows.
Now, just before I actually vacuum seal this here, I'm kind of shimmying around that extra cure just a little bit so it's kind of more evenly distributed in here. As long as it's kind of distributed, we're going to be just fine. So I'm going to vacuum seal this here with my food saver. I really like these upright models. I find that they work super well for my purposes. So here we go. Fantastic. So now I'm just going to write some information on this and then get it into the fridge. All right, so on here I just put on the product. I put the original weight, just, you know, for curiosity. And then I put on the date here. Okay, it has been 6 weeks and I have pulled this out of the fridge. That's definitely longer than this needed. I probably could have gotten away with 2, maybe 3 weeks and this would have been nicely fully cured. However, I was not in a rush and I wanted to give this maximum time in order for all of those seasonings to penetrate this meat and just result in a nice flavorful ham. I'm just going to cut into this bag. I'll pull out this ham and I'm going to rinse it off. The reason for that is just to get any sort of residual cure and stuff off of here, any of that extra liquid. Also, when I go to wind up slicing this eventually, it'll be nice if I don't have a bunch of little speckly herbs and stuff on here that are going to fall off with my slicer. So now that I'm rinsed off, you can see that there's still a bit of that pepper and stuff on here, but that is all good. I'm just going to pad this dry with some paper towel, and then I am going to get this into the smoker. Exciting times. My Pit Boss 700 FB is fired up. I have it on the smoke setting, and I'm using some competition blend pellets. On the inside here, I've got my smoker baking sheet here. You can see I've got, well, maybe you can see I've got some apple juice in it here, and that's going to give just a little bit of moisture. I'm trying to avoid drying out this pork loin, and I'm going to be setting it on this rack here. I have no idea where I got this rack. It's been years, but it's going to work perfectly just to set that loin on. So I'm going to take my pork loin, I'm going to pop it into here, and I'm also just going to be using my meter plus. So I'm going to take the probe out of here and inserting it into the one end, going deep into the thickest part of the loin, just like so. Excellent. The other thing I'm going to do, so I have the apple juice in there, which again is for moisture, but also just a little bit of flavoring. I'm going to take this little spritz bottle here that has some apple juice and give a little spray down here as well, because hey, why not? Now I'm going to leave it on the smoke setting here for a little while. That's going to be giving it that flavor, but again, we're trying not to get too hot in here. So this has been sitting on the smoke setting here for an hour and a half just about. To give this another little spritz. So keep spritzing it for a bit. The ambient temperature in here is right around 120 Fahrenheit. I think I'm going to just leave it on this setting here for a little bit just to get maximum smoke into this ham. After 3 hours total, we're almost at 100 degrees. The meter probe is reading 95 degrees Fahrenheit, so I'm going to turn the temperature of the smoker up to 200 degrees Fahrenheit, and we will just head towards actually finishing off this cook. So 4.5 hours in, I've just turned the temperature up to 225 degrees, just to kind of finish it off. All right, so we have hit 140 Fahrenheit, which is what we were going for. It's all easier said than done. This has been 5.5 hours in the smoker since we started that first smoke cycle. She is looking and smelling awesome.
Stay safe, folks.
That's right. So this is a meat road trip here. I didn't have room in the fridge, so after last night, sent them over to your place.
It's just one of the Zoom backgrounds.
Right?
It's still the same kitchen.
Exactly. Oh my goodness.
Doesn't that smell so good?
You smell it? Yeah, smell it. There we go. So this is just chilled down overnight, and we are going to cut into it now and then rip off some slices. Okay, so let's slice this bad boy in half here. What do you think? Right about there?
Yeah,
let's go this way. Not all of this is for us.
We are being greedy.
Oh, yeah. Look at that. Some nice fat marbling running through that. That's beautiful. Let's slice it. Now, if you're thinking this looks exactly like my slicer, you're correct, but it's not my slicer. Somebody also has one. Whoop, whoop. All right, let's rip off some slices here. Nice slice, man.
Is it tasting time?
I think it's tasting time.
Sweet. A little salty. Good smoke.
Those herbs got in there just perfectly. Really nicely balanced, certainly not overpowering. That is delightful and exceptionally moist.
Yes.
Right, which was my initial concern going with the hot smoking as opposed to cold smoking and cooking via sous vide, but I think this is absolutely stellar. I think the exterior of the meat also looks just a little bit nicer, right, than the sous vide version. So I think this is a massive win.
Yep. Double win.
Let's slice up some more.
Let's go.
And assuming you don't eat all of it right away, just take it, vacuum seal it like this, get it in the fridge. The fact that it's been smoked and then it's been cured, it's going to last quite a long time in there, particularly if you vacuum seal it and don't give it access to oxygen. This can last you months in the refrigerator, so super handy that way. Final verdict on this hot smoked version of my pork loin deli ham is I love it. I think I like it more than my cold smoke and sous vide finished pork loin deli ham. This here has that appearance on the outside, the nice darkening, those Maillard reactions taking place. You have that caramelization of the apple juice on it and that little bit of residual sweetness that leaves in the finished product. Super fun. Also, you don't need a precision cooker to finish it off, so maybe a little bit more accessible for some people. So give it a whirl, try it out, love it, and until next time, keep it at 11.